Hey, welcome to the final segment on the Carnival Mardi Gras. This will cover nighttime and evening entertainment. This is episode 14 and the final Mardi Gras.
All good things must come to an end.
You can look forward to future episodes that are just general cruising episodes, cruising with toddlers, packing, and how to save money on cruises in general, which could possibly be our specialty because we're fairly thrifty people. So that's coming up. Then Celebrity Beyond will be coming up, and then Carnival Celebration to kick off the new year. So that's the future.
Yeah, we actually got a lot to talk about on this one, so I think it'll probably be 15 minutes or so, but we're going to try not to make it too long.
Nobody wants to hear 15 minutes of this.
You got to close with a bang. I'm going to quickly go over the 4 big production shows. I think everybody kind of agrees, if you take a step back, that the big production shows is not where Carnival shines. They do great with the secondary type shows, but the main production shows not where they shine. And I think you only got to watch one, and 2 of mine were canceled for mysterious reasons. And even though I have a really good memory, and I watched 2 of them, I honestly can't remember which of the 2 that I watched.
We watched Epic Rock on the first night, which was the 70s, 80s rock one.
Yeah, I know I missed Voodoo Moon, which was the highlight one, and
we saw pieces of that. It was good.
Yeah, but the 4 shows are the Voodoo Moon, so that's the one you said you saw.
We saw, in general, we liked the shows because we did get bits and pieces of these shows, but like the ones out in the center stage, I guess, not the main theater, were a little more acrobatic, Cirque du Soleil type shows. We liked those better than the main theater Broadway type show. It's just, that was our opinion on it all. So.
And the Celestial Strings is one, and then the Broadway Beats and White Revolution. So both of those, you've pretty much seen those on about every ship. It seems like they got some version of those.
Yeah, everything's 80s now, which is we love, but still, yeah.
Yeah, and one reason why they do have the acrobatic type shows in the atrium is that the ceiling is too small on the main theater.
Yeah, you got a high berth, high ceiling.
Yeah, because that's one of the complaints I'm hearing about the celebration. But the 3 deck parties at night were the Tiki, the 80s, and the Mega. The 80s, I think, is always. And I know on ours, and I went to all 3 of them. The 80s was the best one. That's probably the best 80s party I've ever been to. So Lee did a
I think it's the first one, too.
No.
Was it not the first? Not the first one of the 3.
Could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like Lee did a really good job with that one. The Tiki was one of the ones that Lee did not get to host because he was doing the Love of His Marriage. That's one of the things, is that they got so much stuff going on this ship. They can't just have one thing going on. They got to have multiple things to split up the crowd. So
they had one where they were breakdancing or something out in the middle of the ship when we were there. I don't know which one that was, but it wasn't the 80s. But I don't know. They were all just out there doing different dances. Crew members, not the crew director. So who's director?
And then they are what I have as 3 kind of special shows that are unique to, that are unique to Carnival, and that is the Family Feud, which we talked about a little bit. I mean, it's really
you're not going to find that at Carnival. That's
and it's identical to the show you show on TV, and it's the highlight. They got to finish the lyric, which was another probably other than Family Feud, my favorite show all week, which is kind of what they did was, they used to do like the name the tune, atrium dance, sing along things. They pretty much took that and wrapped it up into a show. And I think the Scotsman guy was the one that did that. I think was one that came up with that, I believe. And then on the last night, they have what I believe the overall thing is called the Festival of Nations,
which is rolling out fleet-wide, apparently.
Which was really cool as well.
It was neat.
It's something different. There's 3 different versions, I think, or 3 different smaller ones. They have the World Works here, where the ones the guys came out from like different countries. They have All You Need Is Love and We Are One, and they have different like elephants and things like that.
Yeah, different animals, and it's a cool deal. A lot of the people from the ceiling with the whole the cloth around them and span and all that stuff too. So.
But where I got extremely lucky, a little bit of background on me, if you don't know, is that I'm the world's pickiest music person. I want to listen to my redneck, honky tonk, beer drinking music. And you just don't get that on cruise ships. You don't get a lot of steel guitars.
You don't even get their trivia right.
And sad, depressing songs. So because of that, the live music they have around the ship is something that's just, I only do it when it's like, okay, I got 20 minutes to kill for the next show. Let me go to do that. But we had it tied for the two best musicians I've ever had on any cruise ship. And the first night, a couple of brief stories there. The first night, about 10 o'clock, there wasn't much going on, so I sat down there, and the guy that was singing before ended up sitting beside me, and I wasn't going to try to talk to him just because it looked like he was with his parents. They were wearing masks and all that kind of stuff. But I ended up talking to him a little bit, and he asked me what type of music I liked, and I told him traditional country music. And then the next night, and honestly, I kind of judged the guy because he just kind of looked like a pretty boy. And that next night when he saw me, he sang a Merle Haggard song, and he ended up being the nicest guy I've met on the entire ship, and was a talented guy too. The other one that was so good was, her name was Reggie, and she is currently on the Celebration, so she's kind of getting a big following. She kind of had the personality where females liked her, males liked her. She had a good voice. She was fun, always smiling, so she was really good. A quick story on her. I gave her a little bit of a tip, and she asked me if I had any requests, so I like to be different. So I said a smaller country artist by the name of Ashley McBride. And on the last night, I went back and told her how much I liked her this week, and she said, "Are you the guy that requested Ashley McBride?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Well, I've been looking up her songs after you said that, and I'm going to start singing one of her songs on the set that she felt like she could relate to." And then, even though it's kind of a small thing, I thought it was a nice gesture to go to all the trouble of looking that up, because she didn't have to do that.
Customer service in a non-customer service
way. And like she named the song, so I knew she wasn't just like making it up.
I couldn't even tell you an Ashley McBride song, so I mean with my phone, but that don't count.
Yeah, but I think what made that venue so great is that they both played, is that it was just a solo acoustic music.
That's not the piano bar.
That's not the piano bar. It was right there in the fortune teller or French quarters there. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't so loud where you couldn't have a conversation with your family that was beside you. So that was one of the, and you could also people watch in that.
But the piano bar is extremely popular.
The piano bar is another thing that is real popular. Our guy, his name is Eden Parker, and he's also on the Celebration. He's got a pretty big following as well. And I did that a little bit. I mean, it's more adult oriented, but there was a couple other big performers as well. Like, we got extremely lucky with music. A guy by the name of Marcus Anthony, and I really couldn't figure out if he was the special entertainer or on the ship or what. I think he was a special entertainer, but he must do a lot of Carnival ships, and he was really good. He sung some of the old Motown stuff. He even sung some gospel type stuff, and I think he had like been with like Winona Judd's, did some stuff with her in the past as well. There were two other people, Brian Woods and Sophia Bellman. Sophia's actually pretty well known as well. She was on The Voice, and she is currently on the Celebration as well. And they were both excellent as well. And I think she does like the more big production stage type shows.
You would assume, though, being the top ships that was Mardi Gras, the now celebration, they're going to bring in top tier entertainment or the best they have to offer.
Yeah,
it's the premier ship, premier cruise director, premier everything.
So a lot of these people I mentioned, like Reggie, the Sophia, and the piano player, all own the celebration. So that tells you that, when you go from one new ship to the next new ship, you're the top of the list. And it was a 10 out of 10 when it comes to like the music. I mean, it was only the second time all of any cruise I've been found when just sitting down and listening to music because it was so good. And that is extremely rare for my redneck music taste.
Yeah, and it's not like there wasn't anything to do on the ship either. There's
Right.
always something happening in the evenings to where you really have to pick and choose, like, okay, which one do I want to miss?
Right.
Because if you're going to eat, which we're going to eat in the diner or something, it's hard to get them in some nights. So.
Yeah, you have to do some sacrifices.
Because you can even go to, like, there's 3 family feuds. You can go to all 3 family feuds that night and see 3 different shows because it's different families. It's not it's not the same family going twice. So you could, I think there was actually 3, and that's kind of how they all are.
Yeah, I saw 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
There was sports. There was some basketball and dodgeball stuff at night, which I assume was for the kids, but that's a good thing. There was movies, always movies at night. There was some trivia.
We did the movies at night, but honestly, I mean, I don't have hearing issues, but I struggle to hear those things because like they don't have the sound turned up enough, and the wind's out there, and even when it's hot, it's cold. And
yeah,
we've tried it and it doesn't work. I like the idea of having it up there, but and then you wind up being kind of comfortable falling asleep or something, and just we don't do those.
I always say I'm gonna try it, but I hardly ever do.
And they always have really top tier movies too. They don't just pull something out from the vault or something. It's something current and modern.
Yeah, I mean, they were fairly current movies, not movie theater ones, but maybe.
Yeah, I don't even know what they showed when we were there.
There was comedy around.
Tons of comedy.
Yeah, and they did do the comedy. Some of the late night they would actually do in the main big theater. So I think they finally wised up.
I didn't notice that on ours, but yeah, the comedy is all like we've said in the other videos. If you're going to go to a comedy show, you better get there early. I don't even know if 30 minutes before the show starts is enough to get to the comedy shows because they're just all packed.
Like the comedians are always generally pretty good, but they were one. We had one bad one from, and I don't even remember the guy's name, but that I actually walked out on. He not because he was vulgar, just because he was not funny.
But they have 2 venues on these ships too to do comedy.
Yeah,
they put them in 2 venues.
And I've heard even on the celebration that they've actually increased the number of shows, so that you should be plenty of comedies throughout the night.
That would help out too because there's you just couldn't get in them. I would see lines of just
The Love and Marriage is always the traditional. It was there. They have the like a family game board night type show. They had the Junior Showdown, formerly known as the Battle of the Sexes. They had that, and there was not a quest. But sometimes,
and for the celebration, these are probably the same shows, just different names or different.
And
same stuff.
like we said, the atrium can get full. So if it's something you really want to see, you're going to have to get there.
You can stand up on the rails too, like on decks. What is that? 6, 7, 8. You can stand up on some of the railing and watch them if you want to do that if you come late. But the stadium seats there in the middle, those go really quick.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'd call them. I don't know what they call them, but the ones in the middle there.
But yeah, I would give the entertainment. I'd probably have to give it a 10 out of 10, even with the production shows being just because of how good the live music and entertainment was, and so I mean, I think it was one of the highlights of the trip.
Yeah, the production shows are all kind of the same, whatever cruise line you go to. I mean, we've seen Chicago, and we've seen several big ones. Royal Caribbean does a lot of the big Broadway, actual big name ones. Those are the best ones we've ever seen, but a generic Broadway show kind of thing is all kind of the same. We always go to them, and they're always pretty decent, but you don't usually leave blown away either. So,
but yeah, if you're going to be on the celebration, definitely check out Reggie, and then the Sophia and the main shows, because they were some of the 2 highlights of the
Look
week.
Brandon up on January the 8th. He'll be on the celebration.
We'll be there January 8th if you're there. This is the final one. If you
All right,
happen
on
to
the
like-
generic segments next, and other ships.
Yep, leave a comment.
And with my cruise, we actually had a special show that Brandon didn't have. Our cruise director was the Flying Scotsman Chris Williams.
Yeah.
And he started out, as a singer on the show. So he's a very talented guy. So he did a special show one evening. I forget what they cut out of his that we did out with ours, but he did a special show of singing like I'd call it 80s type songs, because it seemed like he's, in the age bracket of us, and that seemed to be what he liked. But very talented singer. We caught some of the show, didn't catch all of it, but did catch a good majority of it. And he's a very talented guy on top of being a good cruise director too. So
Did he play the bagpipes?
I'm not sure about that.
I think he does.
Okay. We heard singing like, just 80s type stuff, that type of stuff, some of the hairband stuff and then other stuff. So very talented guy. So if you do get him, and he will be on the celebration
From about February on.
Yeah, so you want to catch that show. It's one of the highlights because it's something you're only going to see when he's cruise director, and when he hangs it up at the end of next year or whenever it is, you're not going to see that show again. So
yeah, so unless you're going in the spring, you're going to be out of luck there.
I think he's going to California after this, though. He's going to do some. He said he's moving to the ship out in California. I think that's where he's going to wind it up after the celebration contract or something like that. So anyway, so yeah, definitely a good show. Check it out.